Welcome back to Off the Chart. We are here and we have a lot to process in episode 4 of season 2, Gen Q.
This season, we're once again watching the L Word Generation Q with you, bringing you our unfiltered take on the new series reboot every Tuesday because we still can't get enough of those LA lesbians.
I'm Erica Lenti, senior editor at Extra, and I too am still mourning Dana Fairbanks. Rest in peace.
And I'm sheltering in managing producer at Extra, and I'm so mad at Sophie right now.
Same. Real same.
Choices.
Nat and I broke up.
Is that why you look so terrible?
That feels unnecessary.
The world wasn't ready for you when you got your first break.
I'm so sorry, but I can't make it tonight.
No problem. What's going on? You working late?
So let's jump right into it, Shell. This was like a huge episode. What were the themes that you saw?
So episode 4 is always a banger with endless reveals. So to me, the theme this week seems to be yearning. Bet wants to find Pippa and bring her work to the masses. Alice misses Dana every single day. Shane tries to win over Tess with a backyard movie night, while Finley tries to win over Sophie with sushi and flowers. Danny wants her old life back when things were easier. Micah is secretly crushing on Maribel, and Angie wants to make sense of her new connection with Kayla and trying to figure out how to help her donor. So everyone is just aching for something that they long, and I can't wait to see how it plays out.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what the next episode brings. But for now, let's recap.
Let's do it.
All right, first up, we have Danny, Sophie, and Finley, of course. So I was wrong. Danny's dad is not dead. He's just being arrested for fraud. No biggie. So Danny is like totally freaked out. She takes off to Ojai. Sophie follows her up there. And what happens? Of course, they wind up in bed together again. Meanwhile, poor Finley is stood up by Sophie for a sushi dinner date. And then she ends up on her scooter going to the liquor store to drown her sorrows, which for some reason, I think unironically, one of the funniest scenes, just her on a scooter riding to the liquor store. But besides that, what do we make of all of this, Shell? How are you feeling about Danny and Sophie once again reuniting and doing the most?
I mean, I think we can all relate to that breakup that just takes a few tries. So, like, I understand it. And what I will say about this episode and seeing them, like, fall back into old habits is that perhaps for the first time in the entire Gen Q series, the chemistry between Danny and Sophie was like palpable. Like it was actually like, I bought it. I bought the history behind their relationship. Like that history you have when you've known someone so long, that shorthand that you have, like some of that was heartbreaking to see because it's like, okay, like this thing that we wanted all season 1 is finally happening. But after like somebody has ruined their wedding and Danny is going through all this other stuff with her father, we said a lot in season 1 of the podcast that like they didn't spend enough time like investing their relationships. And so it was hard for us to buy that these people were friends. But like, you know, these lovely scenes where like Micah was buying flowers with Finley and trying to give her dating advice and be like, listen, I know that you're thirsty, but like slow your roll. Like all of those moments between them just help solidify like the relationship and the community that these folks have with each other. So that's what I found really interesting, just like in the acting in the scenes. What did you think of this whole regressive mess?
I mean, like Sophie kind of sucks now, right? Like I feel really bad saying that, but like don't invite Finley on a dinner date. Don't let Finley go to the Men's Warehouse and buy a blazer and then get in bed with your ex-fiance and lie about, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just so over it. I think Sophie should be with no one. I think Finley should find someone who deserves her and who is going to be supportive. And I think Danny should also just like go out and have a fling and not be tied to anybody. Like, I think all 3 of these people just need to be alone and stop having sex with each other. That's my view of it. I don't know about you.
I think I will agree with you 100% on that one. Sophie obviously has a lot of work to do on her own. she's just making so many bad choices. Like, Sophie, stop it. Please stop.
Yeah, they all need therapy. Okay, let's talk about our favorite OG, Bet. So Bet is, of course, desperate to sign Pippa Pascal, played by the lovely Vanessa Williams, to work with her. Pippa is, like, not having any of it, but that doesn't stop these two from having some eye/hand sex over dinner.
I don't know that anyone's still listening.
Meanwhile, some sad news for Angie. She finds out that her donor is dying, and now she has to make the decision as to whether or not she wants to meet him. And we got some really nice conversations with Bet and Angie there. So maybe we can start there and then move on to the more spicy things. What do you make of all of this stuff with Angie, Shell? We're alluding to her going to therapy with her parents. What do you think of all of it?
It's hard to help someone with a problem when you don't know what it is yet. We just know that Angie needs some help.
My donor's dying. Should I meet him?
Do you want to meet him?
So I think we need to learn a little bit more about what exactly is happening to Angie's donor. What do you think?
Yeah, I will say, like, one of my favorite parts of the episode was this constant callback to Shane being like this amazing uncle to Angie, being the person that she calls whenever something hard is happening and she can't talk to her parents. I love that Shane is like a constant for Angie, and it seems really natural and like it doesn't feel ham-fisted. What I also loved about their conversation is that we finally heard Shane address Carmen again, which is so exciting. She talked about her daddy issues, which we remember from the original series, which all led to her leaving Carmen at the altar. How did you feel about the Carmen callback?
I mean, I loved it. And like, we see a few callbacks later in the episode, and we will talk about that. They want to resolve those storylines from the original series. Just, you know, because they have the opportunity to. Very seldom do we reboot and are able to like put those things to rest. Like, I mean, we're still talking about Tibet like a decade later, right? And I don't doubt that there are also like Dana and Alice shippers. There's probably Shane and Carmen shippers. And so this is like a really lovely way to like close those chapters. So I loved the throwbacks.
I think at one point, Sarah Shahi was actually supposed to come back in Gen Q, and then it didn't end up happening. And part of that, my theory is that it just wasn't acceptable to have someone play a Latina character who is not Latina in real life. So I did like that we got the Carmen mention. It's probably as close as we're gonna get to a Carmen reunion with Shane on this show. So it was nice to at least hear about her. But on to Bet. So what do we make of the Pippa Pascal chemistry flirtation happening? She's definitely going to end up in bed with her, right?
I can't see how that wouldn't happen. I love how like when she's hosting brunch for Shane and Alice, and like Shane points out that Bet looks like $1 million, and so you know, I don't think it surprises any of us that Bet is going to all lengths, you know, driving to Topanga to find this person. Pippa Pascal is obviously an artist that has touched Bet throughout her life, so it's like a dream. It's a dream get. I also love like when she camps out like outside of Pippa's studio all day, and then when you know, Pippa finally lets her in, and Bet has her typical like, oh my God, I love art face, where she's like about to cry and she's smiling, and even Pippa's kind of like, are you okay? Like, do you need smelling salts? Like, that was so funny. We know that Bet loves art. She loves it a lot. And obviously this is an artist that speaks to her on a very like molecular level, as she said. So like, I love their chemistry. I can't wait to see what happens there.
Two things. One, I think it was slightly stalkerish, and only Bet could get away with sitting outside of someone's house for an entire day and not have the police called. Two, my fiance was watching this with me, and she was like, does Bet cry over anything but art? And I think that's one of my favorite things about Bet. She is so good. But there is that scene that is now living rent-free in my mind forever of Bet and Gigi getting it on a kitchen counter.
Woo!
Bet literally rips her rings off. If you thought I was sweating the last time, my God. what do you make of Bet and Gigi? Our readers are not as into Bet and Gigi as perhaps I am. We did some Twitter and Instagram polls. 70% of you prefer Gigi with Danny. I don't know. I see the potential in both ships. Shell, what do you think of all of that?
I mean, I think it's important to remember that not every relationship is meant to blossom into something long-standing, right? And I will say that the music supervisor this season is killing it because, when that scene happens, I think the lyrics in that particular song are, "You're not the one, but you're the one right now." Obviously, she's channeling her frustration for Pippa into Gigi. We're all familiar with projecting. And if it means we get to see another hot Bet and Gigi sex scene, then we love to see it.
I'm all for it. Okay, time to move on to your favorite ship, Shell. Shane and Tess, they are setting up for a movie night at Dana's. Tess gets some news that she needs to go visit her mom in Vegas. So Shane decides to set up a little movie night in Tess's backyard or front lawn or something. It's all going well. They're having a good time. They're getting deep. And then Shane goes in for a kiss, which gets really awkward because, surprise, Tess is seeing somebody else. How was your poor little shipper heart feeling, Shell?
Oh, I mean, obviously it broke. I was like, oh, it's happening. And then when Tess is like, I'm seeing somebody else, I was like, of course you are, because this can't just be nice and just work smoothly. I'm very interested to know more about this person that Tess is seeing. And I don't know, it's Shane. Shane can bounce back. Our lesbian Lothario can find somebody else.
I think our listeners are split as well on this. It's pretty much 50-50 on whether they want to see Shane and Tess be together or just remain BFFs. I'm also sort of on the fence. My issue has always been bosses and subordinates hooking up, which the L word has no regard for. Tess still works for Shane, right? Mm-hmm. It could get really messy. We saw how messy Finley and Sophie got, and they weren't even Sophie wasn't Finley's boss. So I think it could get pretty messy. All right, let's move on to Alice. So Alice is now in full breakup mode, and she is moving back home where her lovely mother Lenore is living, and she's shilling some multi-level marketing scheme beauty products, which is the best Lenore moment ever. Meanwhile, she's still working on her memoir with her editor Tom, and Tom asks her to dig a little deeper on the Dana chapter, which just breaks collective hearts everywhere. I just want to note that I inadvertently manifested the Dana moment in this episode. We didn't get screeners or anything, so I can attest that I had no idea they were going to mention Dana in this episode. I texted Shell so fast to be like, I manifested this, just want to take credit. But how did you feel, Shell? It was a really heartwarming and sad moment. How did you feel during it?
Dana was such a fan favorite in the original series. And even now, with Shane calling her bar Dana's, Dana was a very important part of their friend group. And so it's really lovely, actually, for the show writers to find ways to still give tribute to these characters that everybody loved. In the same way that Shane had that conversation with Angie about Carmen, we're seeing that echoed again here, where Alice gets a chance to talk to Tom about Dana, and it's part of her book. It makes sense that Tom would ask. It didn't feel squeezed in. It made sense, and I think was an example of fan service done right.
Yes, I completely agree. I will note a fun tidbit that Kate and Leisha brought up in Pants, which was that apparently, at one point, it wasn't supposed to be Dana who was going to die and get cancer. It was actually Tina.
Really?
But they decided to scrap that because I guess Tibet was too strong. And of course, we need to note that Eileen Chaikin continuously admits that she effed up with killing off Dana. So just crazy to think about what the show would be if Dana was still around, and if Tina was not around anymore. I know that Tina is pretty universally hated, but she actually made Gen Q better, at least the first season. And I think that with Rosie O'Donnell, she's going to make it better as well. So I'm glad she's still around. I wish we could just have Dana too.
Bury our gays. We got to have it somewhere.
Okay, and last but not least, Micah. He is in his feelings. He goes on a double date with Maribel, with another guy. But then he ends up at the end of the date admitting that he's not just into guys anymore. He's potentially into women and other folks. So Maribel feels kind of bad, but he just doesn't admit that he has feelings for her. It's very obvious at this point. I am not enjoying the return of sad boy Micah. I don't know about you, Shell, but like, can we just have Micah be empowered and like go and get what he wants for once?
Agree. Like I loved those few moments we've seen in the last few episodes where Micah is actually living and thriving. And I think we'll get to that. But, you know, the writers need to build up this new relationship if that's where it's going. I'm not as mad as seeing him sad about this because I don't think the story is over yet. And I think that there's more to happen there. What I want to ask you is, like, do you think that Maribel is clued in? Like, is she picking up on any of these vibes? Because sometimes it seems like they're on the same page about it. And then sometimes Maribel seems clueless. Like, what do you think?
I think she doesn't realize, because for so long she thought that Micah was exclusively into men. So only now did she have a chance to realize, like, oh, he could be attracted to people of all genders. So I think that she's probably clued out. He's dropping the hints pretty hard. I mean, he took her horseback riding,
right?
Which seems pretty romantical. Yeah, I think she'll eventually realize it. I don't know if anything will come of it. It seems like they have a really solid friendship. I love seeing friends evolve into more on shows, because so often, like especially on the L Word, we see people go from like 0 to 100 real fast. Like they just met and they're already in bed. So I would like to see this blossom into more. I really want to see Micah thrive. I think it's frustrating watching this show and seeing trans characters left behind constantly. So I'm getting a little exhausted. And, you know, I see a lot of people online saying they don't care that much for the storyline. Like, I just want to see Micah do his thing and be happy and be more interesting, I guess, is where I'm coming from. It'll also be really nice to see him with Angie in therapy. They seem to be leading up to that. So
totally.
Let's flesh out his character a bit more. Let's show him in more than just like the constant hopeless romantic that he is.
He's not just a person for someone to date. Like, he has his own career and his own ambitions and his own wants and needs, right? So while it was very nice to see him interacting with Angie at the LGBTQ center, I will note that it's actually a huge conflict of interest for Micah to take Angie as a client, because Micah knows, like, Angie's mom. Like, it's actually a no-go, and this shouldn't be happening. Let's just suspend our disbelief for L Word purposes and go along with it, because it's nice to see, but we will recognize in the real world that shouldn't happen.
You know, watching the L Word is just a constant need to suspend your disbelief with a lot of things. So I think we can let this one slide slightly. Okay, it's time for our superlatives round. Each week we pick our favorite moment from the episode. Shell, what was yours this week?
I will have to award cutest moment to Shane McCutcheon, who sets up the projector and an impromptu movie night for Tess in the backyard. Fun fact, when I was first courting my partner, I set up a picnic in the back of my hatchback and took her to the drive-in. So I really loved seeing that scene, like when you are crushing on someone so hard and you'll go to any lengths to win them over. So I really loved that. What was yours, Erica?
I was about to dump on you about this with Shane and Tess, but I can't say anything to that. That's so friggin' cute. I'm gonna go in a different route. Sexiest moment of the reboot ever, which is obviously Bet and Gigi. I think I actually screamed when it came on. So just like more Bet and Gigi, basically just more Gigi. She didn't have a single line in this episode, but she was still such a presence. So Gigi all the way, man.
100%. Now, those are our favorite moments, but we would love to hear all about yours. So tell us all about them in the comments below.
Okay, that's it for this episode. Tune in next week for episode 5 when hopefully Gigi has some lines. We'll see. I'm Erica Lenti.
And I'm Sheltering In. Off the Chart, Generation Q is produced by Sheltering In. Our technical producer is Lito House. Our executive producer is Rachel Giza, and our music is by Kid Kool-Aid.
Now, if you like what you're hearing and seeing, please subscribe, leave a comment, give us a thumbs up, and leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts. Feel free to follow us at Extra Magazine on Twitter. Until next time, bye!
Bye! Like, it's another situation of, like, are you gonna mix business with pleasure? So,
okay, hang on a second, Shell. Hang on a second. Are you not the captain of the Tess Shane ship? What's the difference between Alice and Tom and Shane and Tess?
Like, you got me there, Lindsay.
I'm gonna call you out on your bullshit.